Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News. This is Scott from the Nibiru channel. I have Chris Potter from Chris Potter on YouTube, and we have our doctor of physics. And today we're going to be discussing this Earth tilt and possibly this crustal displacement. Deep down inside, I know that the Earth is tilting, and I've had every person under the sun tell me that the Earth is not tilting, I'm crazy, this doesn't happen but maybe every 10,000 years, blah, 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 blah. That's all I've heard. I've heard a bunch of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you call it blah, 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 because it doesn't agree with your narrative, does it, Scott?
So basically, we began our own investigation into it. And ladies and gentlemen, this is very hard to calculate.
It's only very hard to calculate because it's not happening, Scott.
And figure it out. This takes the brains and the brawn of a good mathematician, a good investigator, and a good physicist.
But you don't seem to have any of those things, do you?
We've basically come to the conclusion that, without a doubt, the Earth's crust has probably moved, and I'm not talking about an earthquake. The positioning of the Earth on its axis has definitely moved and will continue to move.
Welcome to the Twilight Zone, guys. Earth tilt? No. Crustal displacement? No.
Brown dwarf stars, brown dwarfs, aliens, whatever. It was said very early on that the Earth would go through a pole shift. Now, a lot of times people think of a pole shift as, okay, the Earth is going to turn upside down. There are magnetic pole shifts. There are...
Well, that's the one thing you got right. We do get magnetic pole shifts. They take hundreds of thousands of years to happen, and they are actually in the geological record, so I'll give you that.
I've been watching the sun come up for, I believe it's going on 12 weeks now. And I've been noting down the time that the sun has been coming up in the east. And it doesn't come up in the east anymore. It comes in the southeast, or east southeast.
The sun is subject to precession. It does change position on the horizon as the year progresses. It's always done it. Pay more attention.
Today, the sun should have came up at 6:41 a.m. But the sun didn't come up at 6:41 a.m. It came up 40 minutes later. There is detailed information already out there that the sun is actually rising later. It's clearly showing that the Earth is definitely tilting.
You're still forgetting about the pole stars at the north and southern hemisphere, Scott, and they're telling us there's no tilt.
But I don't really want to say tilting as in tilting further over. To me, it seems like the Earth is actually straightening out.
Which is it, Scott? We're either tilting or we're not tilting. Now, most of us normal people know we're not tilting anyway, so you're talking bollocks.
But we're going to have our physicist discuss the in-depth paperwork. And report that she has produced. There are some people on this planet that are noticing it. And these are the people who live near the equator. Not much of this has been publicized, although NASA did publicize some of this information. And they stated that the severe Earth wobble was due to Not enough water on one side of the Earth and too much water on the other side of the Earth. Another magnetic object, such as the presence of a brown dwarf star, would happen to be getting closer and closer to our planet. When those poles lock on magnetically, well, it's either going to tip our planet over or straighten our planet out. How much they enjoy your reports and how in-depth they are and how easy you make them to understand.
They're easy to understand because they don't use real science. A 4-year-old could have drawn the diagrams.
Thank you.
I also want to mention, ladies and gentlemen, that once again, I hate to keep bringing it up, but, we have these factions out there that just absolutely are the most horrible, gut-wrenching, disgusting individuals on this planet. And sooner or later, they'll meet their maker. These are very disgusting people, and they simply want to change your mind, and they will lie about anything.
There's a bit of a contradiction in terms going on here, Scott. As and when I meet my maker, it'll be with a clear conscience, because I'm not lying. Science proves it, and that's real science, not electric universe science, which can't explain anything. Still can't see this brown dwarf that's supposed to have turned up, and that's despite science telling us how we should be able to see it and detect it with our own eyes. We don't need any fancy equipment. So, yeah, we will try and change people's minds, thank you very much.
They will make up any story. They will do anything that it takes to change your mind and get you off of these types of observations. And they want you tuned in on World War III.
But you're the one who will say anything to keep people hooked into your lies and spewage. And there's not a lot we can do about World War III if it happens. Luckily, fantasy planets aren't going to kill us. So I know what I would be more worried about at the moment.
I'm already being monitored severely by whatever alphabet soup gang there is out there. My cell phones are tapped, my computers are tapped, my home is tapped, the microphone in my car is tapped, the remote control to my cable TV is tapped, the thermostat in my house is tapped.
To coin a phrase here, Scott, you're tapped in the head and you need help.
I'm just hoping that they're not paying attention to me and watching me while I'm taking a dump. But I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them one bit. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and get right to this. Mm-hmm. Doctor, in the report, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up.
Okay.
I remember whenever we discussed this yesterday, you mentioned that you didn't have a lot of research background in taking a look at this, but we've talked about it several times. So whenever you started digging into this, were you surprised at the results that you came up with?
Yes. I actually came up with something that no one else is saying. And as I go through it, I'll explain it. But most people are saying that the Earth has tilted. So the angle has increased, say, from what it is supposed to be, from 23.5 degrees to something like 46 degrees or something. But as I thought through and what's happening with the weather in different parts of the world, I figured out that the only way that we could be getting the weather patterns that we are getting is if the Earth is actually keeping the actual tilt the same. It's 23.5, but what's happening is the North Pole, the magnetic North Pole is shifting, and then the geographic North Pole is shifting with it, because they seem to want to stay at 10 degrees to each other. And when that happens, the geographic North Pole changes to a new place, but the Earth then tilts so that it keeps it in the correct position. That happens, it looks like places on Earth move south on one side, and on the other side they move north. So the US moves south, and Siberia moves north, closer to the North Pole.
Pay attention, I'm going to say this only once. If you own an equatorially mounted telescope, you have to set it up for your latitude in relation to the pole star. If the crust of the Earth had slipped, your latitude would have changed, and you will have to change the latitude setup of your equatorially mounted telescope. I've got one, and I haven't had to change it, so she's talking out of her arse.